Hi, good evening. Sherry, thank you so much for that warm introduction. It is again an honor to be here with you at the summit. And while I'm not with you physically, I feel that I'm with you spiritually and in all other fashions. I congratulate you and your entire team on what I am positive will be another successful summit, charging and recharging the energy that's required for your critical and holy mission. Last year, you gave me the honor of addressing your crowd twice. Once was at the dinner prior to the night to honor Israel, where I had the high honor of being the guest along with Ambassador and Mrs. Friedman at the table of Pastor and Mrs. Hagee. And to be amongst greats is something that one should never take for granted and one should never get used to. And that was truly a privilege and an honor. But the day before was a higher privilege and a greater honor, for you allowed me to speak to your college students who are not college students. They are driven activists. They are impassioned with your mission. And I had an opportunity to speak with them, and I believe it was a dialogue in between them and I had a discussion and a conversation. And when we finished, I was able to take the largest selfie that I've taken before, so I'm grateful for that. Thank you. But more importantly, there are moments in this job like there are in all jobs. And there are moments in our life like there are in all lives where you have a moment to get down, where you have a moment to pause, where you have a moment to reflect and you are not positive of the right way forward. And it was the energy that I felt in the room, not at the night to honor Israel, although there was plenty of energy there, but it was in the room with the college students where I felt that there was purpose and mission to that which I am doing, and I appreciate that because for the last 364 days, I've called back on those moments to find additional strength, and I am grateful for you and to your group for providing that. Thank you. This evening, I wanted to share with you perhaps an original thought in terms of what we are doing and how we can leverage our time together in this digital atmosphere to be more than what we are. For all we know that we need to strive for greater than where we are at this moment. And to do that, I want to understand the purpose of Christians United for Israel. I'm not going to speak about the Christian component. Last year I spoke in great depth of the Christian Judeo values that we share so deeply between our country, the United States of America, and Israel. And I'm not going to speak about Israel very much, but I'm going to speak about united. What happens when we are united, and what happens when we are divided? And in order to share that with you, I'd like to do it in the form of a story that I heard once 18 years ago, and it has stuck with me, and not a week goes by where I don't think of this story as a purpose and drive. You see, once upon a time, before Instagram and TikTok, Facebook and Twitter, people had to do different creative things in order to entertain themselves. Amongst them, they would try to enter into the Guinness Book of World Records. And there was a fellow who decided that he was a great tightrope walker. And he decided that it was going to be his job to be the first person in history to tightrope walk backwards across Niagara Falls. And he calls all of his friends and says, hey, if you're free this Monday, come up to Niagara Falls and you'll see something interesting. And 100 friends come to see what he's going to do. And he stands on the tightrope and he says, who wants to see the first person to ever tightrope walk across Niagara Falls? And people are like, I guess I will. Sounds interesting. Either way, it will be entertaining. And he says, who believes in the Great Blondini? And they turn from one side to the other side, and he goes, I'm the Great Blondini. He says, who believes in the Great Blondini? And people say, okay, we believe in the Great Blondini. And lo and behold, he's the first person ever to tightrope walk across Niagara Falls. And he comes back and he says, if you thought that was cool, look forward to next week and bring a friend. And the following Monday, he comes back, and there are about 1,000 people sitting there. And he says, who wants to see the first person tightrope walk backwards across Niagara Falls? And people are like, sure, sounds good. And says, who believes in the Great Blondini? And people go, we believe in the Great Blondini. And he tightrope walks backwards across the Niagara Falls. And he says, if you thought that was cool, come back next week and bring a friend. And he gets up on the rope the following week, and now there are 1,500 people there. And he says, who wants to see the first person tightrope walk backwards blindfolded over Niagara Falls? And at this point in time, people know the deal. And he says, who believes in the Great Blondini? And you hear an echo across the Niagara Falls, we believe in the Great Blondini. And backwards, blindfolded, he tightrope walks across Niagara Falls. He says, if you think that's cool, come back next week and bring a friend. The following Monday, he's there, and there are 2,000, maybe 3,000 people there, and it's him in blindfold backwards with a wheelbarrow. And he says, who wants to see the first person to tightrope walk backwards, pushing a wheelbarrow while blindfolded? And they're like, we do. He says, who believes in the Great Blondini? And they scream, we believe in the Great Blondini. We believe in the Great Blondini. And backwards, blindfolded, pushing a wheelbarrow, he becomes the first person to cross on a tightrope Niagara Falls. And he comes back and he says, if you thought that was cool, come next week and bring a friend. And at this point in time, it's the final Monday, and there are 10,000 people that are crowded to see what the Great Blondini will do. And he stands up with a wheelbarrow and the blindfold, standing backwards on the tightrope, and he says, who wants to see the first person tightrope walk backwards, blindfolded, pushing a wheelbarrow with someone in it? And people scream, we do. And he says, well, who believes in the Great Blondini? And they scream out, we believe in the Great Blondini. And he says, who believes in the Great Blondini? And screams out, we believe in the Great Blondini. Says, do I have any volunteers? And silence breaks out throughout the Niagara Falls area. And after many minutes, an old fellow raises his hand and says, I volunteer. He climbs up, gets into the wheelbarrow, and the Great Blondini, blindfolded, backwards, falls off the rope in the middle of Niagara Falls. Of course, that's not what happens. He succeeds in crossing Niagara Falls, blindfolded backwards, pushing this old gentleman in the wheelbarrow. And after accomplishing this tremendous feat, the piece de resistance of his entire 6-week ordeal, the press does not mob him, but they mob the volunteer, the old man. And they turn to him and says, what caused you to get into the wheelbarrow? He says, I was here on the first week. I've been a friend of the Great Blondini's, and I was here. And he asked, who believes in the Great Blondini? And I said, I believe in the Great Blondini. In the second week, I said, I believe in the Great Blondini. In the third week, etc., etc. And then when it was time to put our beliefs into action, it was very clear that talk is cheap. And my talk is not cheap. And I believe in the Great Blondini, so I volunteered. So what does this story have to do for you and for me and the U.S.-Israel relationship? When Christians are united for Israel, when you are united, it is unbelievable what you can accomplish. Having a unity of mission and a unity of purpose is unbelievable, especially when it is directed towards something for Israel. Now, what does it mean to be united for Israel? That means that you are a tireless, thankless advocate for the U.S.-Israel relationship. Remember two things, please. Number one, the United States of America is the single greatest experiment by mankind in the history of the world. It is the greatest force for good in the history of the world. You might not believe that as you read the news and see social media. You might think that it is something other than that which it is. Is the United States perfect? Of course not. Should we strive to be more perfect? Of course we should. With all of that, are we not the greatest country in the history of the world? Darn right we are. And so what is our purpose of representing the United States of America? To make sure that the United States of America does what's right, represents what's right, and stands for what is right. And there's nothing more right than standing with the great state of Israel. It is a bastion of humanity, of civility, of democracy, of values in a region that is so sorely missing all of those things. Let's not be complicated about what it means to be united for Israel. United for Israel means knowing where we stand in the United States of America with pride, with dignity and purpose. And once we are standing, what do we stand for? We stand for the great state of Israel. We stand to make the United States stronger. We stand to make Israel stronger, and when we're able to accomplish both of those, we improve the United States of America, we better the state of Israel, and collectively we better humanity. And therefore, we have been at these conferences, we have been at these summits, we have sung the songs, we've danced the dance, we've pledged the pledges. but are we willing to do the work? The time is difficult right now. The challenges are great, and the opportunities are enormous. Since we first got here 3.5 years ago, the President Trump has historically recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, moved the embassy of the United States of America to Jerusalem, has recognized the Golan Heights, and has declared that Jewish people have the right to settle in their ancient historic homeland in Judea and Samaria. And then he put out the Trump Vision for Peace. Through all of this, with my boss, Ambassador Friedman, Senior Advisor Jared Kushner, the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Special Envoy Avi Berkowitz, it has been my privilege to work with people who carry humility, purpose, and drive in everything that they do. But let us not be complacent. During this time, where all of our plans since the launch of the Trump plan in January have been upended and pivoted because of COVID-19, one might think that standing with Israel is not a top priority. Not for America, perhaps not for the administration, and perhaps not for you individually. So this is the message that I have for you today. The United States of America is an unbelievable country, made so because of people like you and groups like yours. The United States of America has a tremendous mission and tremendous purpose, made so because of people like you and groups like yours. Now is the time to double down on your efforts to demonstrate what it means to be united for a purpose. And it's my honor and privilege and pleasure to go to work each and every day representing the United States of America to our top ally, certainly in the region, perhaps in the world, the great state of Israel. And I'm able to do it not just myself and the ambassador and our team at the embassy, but representing millions upon millions upon millions of Americans, represented by you and your great organization, knowing that it is our purpose and mission to strengthen the United States and to strengthen Israel together. Thank you for your support in this holy and critical mission. And I ask of you, do not walk away from this conference inspired without action. Take the inspiration and turn it into action. Commit now to come and visit us in Israel. Commit now to come and spend some of your charitable money here in Israel. Commit now to bring a friend who does not see the U.S.-Israel relationship the same way you do to the next conference, to the next summit, to the next meeting, to the next conversation. Commit now to call your members of Congress and your U.S. senators and explain that while America is going through challenges, the U.S.-Israel relationship is something that makes all of us stronger, and we must double our efforts on that. Thank you so much for allowing me to spend a little bit of your conference and summit with you. God bless you and all of your hard work, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.